How you doing, everyone? Welcome back. I know it's been a little while since I've put a video out, but life kind of happens here. We've got some projects going on around the house and uh, some personal things that we're dealing with here. And I've got a cat that wants to jump up on my lap right here. There she is. Here's Penelope, and dealing with some health issues with this little girl. Yeah, she has asthma. So, yeah, let me go ahead and move this out of the way there. We've got some, some papers up there. I don't want her walking across those to crinkle them while I'm trying to talk to you. But anyway, all right. Like I said, life happens. It's been a while since I posted a video. And actually, the last video that I posted got quite a bit of hate, which is fine. I throw my opinions out there, and you're either going to agree with them or you're not, and that's fine. But some people don't like being told that the politicians they support are intentionally cruel to people, by trying to starve them out. But anyway, that conversation has been had, and of course they want to attack, me for how many subscribers I have. Well, I mean, this isn't a full-time gig for me, as you can tell. I mean, I'm not monetized, I mean, it's not like I do this. I mean, hopefully I can get monetized at some point, but people like to say things to me like, get a job. Well, I own a business, actually two of them. But, plus, if I need to get a job for taking, 15, 20 minutes out of my day just to post a video, what does that say about you? I mean, you're probably spending more time scrolling through watching and commenting on my videos than I'm making producing them, because all I do is just sit here completely unscripted, tell you what I think, and then post the video, right? That's it. I don't spend a whole lot of time on this. And maybe that'll get me monetized someday, maybe it won't, and quite frankly, I don't care all that much. But anyway, I was talking to my wife today, right? We had to go see her stepmother, who lives in a different town, so that was a little bit of a drive for us. And, we went to see her and had a good day. Uh, but we had an interesting conversation on the drive down there, right? We were talking about congressional representatives, congressional pay and whatnot, right? Because you've probably heard the news that Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning from Congress. And the day of her resignation, her effective date of resignation, it's actually pretty interesting. Because on January 6th of 2021, she was supportive of those who stormed into the Capitol. And now, on January 6th of 2026, she will be storming out of the Capitol. And I'll tell you this, I mean, Marge, for all of her faults, has actually been decent lately. I mean, maybe not decent. That's not the right word. But anyway, she's been on the right side of things lately, and I don't know how much of that is calculated for political reasons and how much of it is she's actually just figured it out. I don't think she's figured it out personally. Anyway, her resignation her effective resignation date is shortly after she gets a lifetime pension for serving in Congress. It's like just a couple days after, right? So that was calculated, right? And she's said for some time that she doesn't like being there. Now she's resigning, and she doesn't want the job. And she's getting death threats from Trump supporters, which is funny because, people on the left have disliked her for the last, 5 years or so that she has been a prominent figure, right? And she hasn't received death threats in all that time. But now she goes against Donald Trump as it pertains to the Epstein files, and she's getting death threats. Interesting. So she's been with Trump 100% of the time, except that she wants those Epstein files released. That's the only break she's had from Trump, and that makes her persona non grata, according to MAGA and to Trump. She's a terrible person, she's a rhino, she's this, she's that, blah, 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 blah. Now, Marge, terrible person. She's the one who badgered a survivor of a school shooting. She's the one who has tried to sell all the Q conspiracies. She's the one who bought into the Jewish space laser thing. She's the one who gave us that nonsense. She has been every kind of bigoted that you can think of. But she supports releasing the Epstein files, regardless of who it implicates. And, to be honest with you, as much as I don't like Marge, and I don't think she does much for the right reasons, I think she's on the right side of that issue for the right reasons. Okay, but I got off topic of where I was actually going with this video, right? My wife and I, we were actually talking about congressional pay, and her pension came up, which kind of led me down that rabbit hole. And my wife said, and I agree with this, that she actually said that Congress, they should get paid the median salary of the people in their district. So, like, if the median income is $50,000, you get $50,000, right? Now, I've heard others suggest, and I would actually go along with 1.5 times. So the median salary is $50,000. You get $75,000 for serving in Congress. Of course, the downside is they would have to approve that, so it's not going to happen, right? Think about this. If you had the option at your job to determine your own pay, right? If you say, hey, you know what? I want $30 an hour, right? Or I'm making $30 an hour. I want 30. And hey, boss, you're going to pay me 35 now, right? You're not going to say, oh, well, I'm making $30 an hour. Hey, boss, I only want 20. Right? You're not going to do that. Who would? So from that perspective, I can't blame them for not wanting to cut their own pay. However, wouldn't that be an interesting scenario considering the cost of living in D.C., right? And how many of them rent apartments or own houses in D.C., right? If they have to make it on, the median income or 1.5 times the median income of their district, are they able to make ends meet on that? I bet you things will change real quick. Bet you things will change for the better real quick, right? Because they might have to live in HUD subsidized housing. They might have to rely on SNAP benefits. Make them think differently about things, now wouldn't it? And then, this is more of a joke that we threw out, but it would be interesting to see it happen. Have them. They might have to take on roommates to make ends meet if they don't want to accept government assistance, right? So have them room with someone of the opposite party. For example, John Thune rooms with Chuck Schumer, right? The two leaders in the Senate. Hakeem Jeffries has to room with Mike Johnson. And then could you imagine if you had to put Nancy Mace and Jasmine Crockett rooming together? Oh man, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Or AOC and Lauren Boebert, or, something like that, That would be interesting. That would definitely be interesting. Or Jim Jordan with, I don't know, Jamie Raskin or Maxwell Frost. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Anyway, I don't know. Obviously, it's never going to happen because they get to vote on their own pay. I mean, wouldn't you like to just go into your job and say, hey, you know what? Just talk to all of your fellow employees, and with a union, you can actually negotiate this. But without a union, you can't just go in there and say, all right, you know what? We're making $30 an hour. We want it bumped up to 35. Even with a union, you're not going to likely get that much of a bump, right? You might throw that out there as a starting point, and then the company's going to come back and offer something else, and then you're going to meet somewhere, right? But it is an interesting idea. Actually, I would support making that a constitutional amendment. I would support making that a constitutional amendment. Because you should not be getting rich as a public servant. If you're independently wealthy, guess what? While you're in Washington, you have no access to that money. Now, granted, you can use that money to pay for, your expenses at home. Because you probably own a house and, you don't want your family thrown out of their house, right? So, fine. You can use that money to cover those expenses, but not your congressional expenses. So, interesting concept. It'll never happen, of course, but it's an interesting idea. And I think, my wife isn't the first one who came up with that idea, but we had that conversation just today. So I thought it was thought it was a good idea, and I've floated it on this channel in a video before. Just something to think about. Like I said, never going to happen, but be interesting if it did, wouldn't it? Anyway, I'll catch y'all next time.